So, it's all over. I mean, it's not. The stuff's still on the show floor. But I'm not in Los Angeles, so... Let's talk E3. Sheer notage. So, we'll go through in order. I'll try and be brief, but also touch on good and bad. So EA had the problem of being live in LA and London, which is probably why it was one of the weakest press conferences. Titanfall 2, as previously known, is now going to be multi-platform. It's going to be, well, it's going to be not just PC and Xbox One. It's now going to be on PS4 as well. So those of you hoping for a 360 port like last time, don't think so. Which is a shame, because arguably in some respects, the 360 port of Titanfall was actually better than the Xbox One at launch. Okay, the 360 one came out 2 weeks later, but it was still better by then, after 2 weeks of Xbox One. Good to know. The multiplayer trailer, we got a grappling hook. I guess that's the new thing. Looks good, but multiplayer-wise looks very similar to the original. The thing that did look alright, though, which got leaked a few hours before, thanks to Tay Internet, was the single-player trailer. With the whole robot basically under its own AI, trying to help you as the lead character, I guess, from what I can tell. The single-player thing looks very nice. The multiplayer certainly looks like it's had tweaks, but in terms of the core gameplay, just looks a little too similar for me to be overly stoked about. They did also announce that will be coming October 28th. That's a key thing to note. I'm only going to go on those dates. I'm not going to go by people getting it early on Xbox sort of thing. Which does come up, I guess. So then they cover Madden. And they start covering Madden by talking about it in London. So yeah, the the American football game gets covered in a place where it's more about soccer football. I don't get it. I mean, it looks nice, but is it that much different? It's at this point where they talk about esports, where they're doing loads of different levels. Apparently they got challenger things, which is sort of the amateur level. And you've got the premier, which is the more significant events. And then EA majors, which will basically, I think there's like 4 majors, which will then tie into, at least for Madden, the Madden like Grand Championships, which are happening this week apparently. The top 8 players in the world, all in LA, playing computer games, and they're showing it on ESPN. So wait for somebody to moan about it. Oh wait, they can't really do that now because of E-League actually doing pretty good on TBS. Madden Championship Series will be starting in 2017, which will be going on a week-by-week basis, so I don't know if it's going to run parallel to like the NFL season, I'm not sure. But apparently there's going to be a $1 million prize pool with 4 majors and a finale. I think that's where the whole EA major thing was tying into a finale thing. Then we talk about Mass Effect Andromeda. And we talk about it with concept art and making of the game. As well as glimpses of gameplay. But it was still sort of concept stuff, which is, I don't know. Basically, because we're Andromeda, it's a new galaxy. The bits that they did show from the new engine did look alright. We're going to get more details in the fall. So I'm guessing that means possibly Paris Games Week. Probably not Gamescom on that logic. I mean, I doubt they'll do it at the convention that I'm going to, because if they did, that would be a bit weird. Because they don't normally have things that big. But, you know, the gameplay was good of what we saw of it, but this making on thing, it's like, we don't really care that much about how it was made. We just want to see the stuff. Especially considering you did the same sort of teaser last year when you showed it off. They then talked about updates, how various games are going to get free trials over this week, and new games being added to the vault for Xbox One, things like that. And then they were talking about play to give. They've got challenges in Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes for mobile, along with FIFA and Madden. And apparently after those challenges that are lasting a week, EA is giving $1 million to 5 charities, including Special Effect, UK charity, which helps out disabled gamers with basically adapting controllers and whatever to meet their needs. Which is a great charity. I mean, the other ones I can't remember. I think there's a UN one, there's a LGBT one, I think there was a children's one. I think there was like also a Wounded Warriors sort of style thing. But it's 5 good charities. But the thing is, it's like, do these challenges, and at the end of it, we'll give $1 million to the charities. So it's not like quest-based, as in once goals have been met, that's where they'll get $1 million and, you know, perhaps more. It's just, at the end of it, we'll celebrate by giving these people charity. So what is the point of the challenges? Why don't you just give them the $1 million now? Be easier. It sounds nice, but it's just hot air. Then we have FIFA 17, which is now on the Frostbite engine, which looks very good. Then we have this, hello, I'm Alex Hunter. I've always dreamed of playing with the greats. And it's like, oh, brilliant. This is an actor. What's going on? And I guess because of the success of the Spike Lee joint for NBA 2K16, FIFA 17 is now getting a single player mode where you can live the life of this kid Alex Hunter. The thing is, I don't know whether this Alex Hunter kid is going to be customizable so you can make him into your image or whatever. Or whether he will always be the actor that you saw on stage for the event. Haven't really made that clear. I understand why it's there, because it's going to appeal to people that aren't the real fans. And for some people that are fans, you know, it will be nice that they can sort of live the dream if they can customize it to look like them. But I don't know. I'm a little bit dubious of this as to whether it will go down well. I get it for American sports, but soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, isn't American. And I don't know, because there's certain bits where it feels like, you know, he's in debt to like a London gangster or something. The way it was presented in the trailer, and it's like, I don't think that happens in real life. I know. And considering this is a simulation game, Premier League managers are in the game. Oh, apparently it's called FIFA 17 The Journey. See, it would make sense if they did it for, like, NFL. Something like that. You know, having to go through Combine and then get picked up in draft or whatever. That'd be an interesting twist. Yeah, all the Premier League managers, their likenesses are officially in the game now. So they had Mourinho showing up and being asked whether his kid buys a shit ton of money on Ultimate Team, which is the most awkward thing to do for somebody that you've paid probably millions of dollars for his likeness. Good to know. They then talk about the success of Unravel last year, whereas it came out earlier this year, but they're launching EA Originals, which is basically finding first-time experiences, unique sort of styles, basically new IPs, that sort of thing. Helping small devs to create their work, and also fully funding them. Because the studios, the little small studios that work with EA, will get all the profits. I'm not sure exactly to what extent it is the profits, but basically there's going to be more benefits to them than there is to EA, but obviously it's still good PR for EA. So they introduce probably the game of the show, which was, I think it was called Fee, but I heard it pronounced Fi and Fay, but I think it's Fee. Perhaps there's Foe and Fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Yeah, me. Small studio in Sweden. It's a game without words, but when they showed the trailer, the art style was fantastic. It had the same sort of charm as Unravel. It's like, I like this. Plus, just like Unravel last year, the dev that came on stage was super nervous. Apparently that's the thing. EA has to bring somebody that's going to crap their pants. Then Star Wars happens, and we're going, ooh, hello. And Jade Raymond's on stage. Double hello. And they talk about how new content's coming for Battlefront. Star Wars The Old Republic and Galaxy of Heroes, the mobile game. Then in 2017, there will be a Battlefront sequel, co-developed with DICE and EA Motive, Motive is Jade Raymond's studio. And then 2018, there's going to be the new game from Visceral with Amy Hennig writing, which looks to be very, from the little teaser bit that they showed, sort of in the vein of Star Wars 1313. But then they also talked about Respawn. The guys behind Titanfall and Titanfall 2, they're working on a Star Wars games as well. But that's all we know. Because then, for about 4 minutes, we just see the making of these games. Like, I'm writing stuff. it was sort of like stupid. I can't even do it because I ain't got the right stuff here or whatever. But yeah, just so much design stuff that I was like, we could be seeing something that sort of resembles gameplay, or we could be seeing this rubbish that really is just a load of hot air. That was just, it was sort of like, yeah, honest, we do care about this franchise, but it was nearly all developers going, yeah, we're looking forward to it. We're designing this, we're getting excited. No actual content, really. So, who knows? Finally, final game of the show, Battlefield 1. Apparently the idea was pitched years ago. The graphics look really good. Apparently no battle's ever the same. And then they were going to do a 64-player battle during the next hour of the show, which wasn't the conference. With with teams captained by Jamie Foxx and Zac Efron respectively. And I'm like, what have these bastards got to do with video games? Other than one was on Saturday Night Live and the other was the face of High School Musical? I don't get it. Apparently there's greater destruction, there's dynamic weather, a whole variety of vehicles, and there's behemoth vehicles, however you want to pronounce it. Basically giant vehicles, sort of similar to in Battlefront, where you eventually, if you get the right tokens, get to pilot the giant AT-AT in the level. That sort of thing. I think the level that they showed in terms of gameplay, it was a giant Zeppelin, which is so inaccurate because somebody flew a plane into it and nothing happened. The Zeppelin withstood the plane. Fact check, that wouldn't happen in real life. Just a little bit of, I guess you have to do historical inaccuracy, otherwise, it would be useless, because then people would just get it immediately. And then they announced a release date of October 21st. So yes, EA is bringing out Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 within 1 week of each other. And to think, the week after that is also Call of Duty. And then the week after that is Dishonored and Watch Dogs. I don't know whether there's anything the week before it. All I'm trying to say is, if people are only going to have, one set of money to get what they want for Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever, they're stuffed in a big, big way. And not in a good way. But eventually, I just said at the end, and I don't know if you'll get this on the notes, what was that? Because that hour was just like, why did you bother? You might as well just have said, these games are happening. And of course, the peak, the best moment of the press conference, which wasn't even in the press conference, was Snoop Dogg smoking drugs on stream to hundreds of thousands of people. In fact, the best bit actually came earlier because I didn't hear it properly. Wiz Khalifa was there as well. And if you're a WWE fan, you know what he said about one of the times when he was on wrestling, because he was on drugs at the same time, which they weren't really happy about. And he was saying how him and Snoop, normally do well together on the games. And the interviewer went, "What's your secret?" And he simply went, I don't think I can actually say it on air, but all I'll say is Snoop brought the bong. His words. His beautiful, beautiful words. Next, later that night on Sunday, Bethesda started off with a DOS computer loading up a load of list of things, which I'll get to because I didn't notice it until afterwards. But it was loading up Quake. This Quake looks really good in graphic terms. It's entitled Quake Champions. More details to be revealed at August, but what they did drop is it will be PC and it will be a competitive FPS for all levels of play with unlocked frame rates. And a classic arena shooter, but then they mentioned a cast of diverse warriors, and that made me go, oh. Because, there's a reason why CSGO is popular. Okay, it's not an arena shooter, but with CSGO, you have 5 soldiers who technically can do the same thing, versus 5 soldiers who can technically do the same thing. They can all have AK-47s and go 5-on-5 head-on, not having to get other weapons and whatever. The way they're describing this sounds like it's going to be a League of Legends or an Overwatch-style FPS, in that there's going to be different classes, so different weapons for different characters. I mean, that's the reason why nobody cares about Doom multiplayer, because you can have different classes so they have different weapons. And if you want to get that other weapon, you've got to play as that class. You can't just pick it up. That was always the appeal of Quake. It's like, whatever gun's about, you can pick up. Apparently not this time. More details will be in August, but, you know, if it is sort of hero-based rather than just level playing field-based, I feel that game's going to be problematic. Hopefully they listen. Elder Scrolls Legends card game. Soon as they, I mean, the cinematic trailer looked okay. Then they showed gameplay, and I was like, "Oh my god!" They said they didn't want to rip off Hearthstone, and they have literally ripped off Hearthstone. They announced that it's not now going to be just on mobile; it's also coming to PC, and there will be a beta coming soon. All I would say is run. So then we've got some Fallout 4 news. New DLC, a Contraptions Workshop, which is launching next week. Then in July, the Vault Tech Workshop. Finally, you're able to make your own bunker. And it's like, that actually is pretty awesome. That's looking exciting. And then August, the Nuka World theme park, which seems to be very... I heard somebody talk about the description of it like the day after. I think it was like I think it was Tuesday, actually, yesterday. And the way that they're talking about it is as if you can bend the Commonwealth area, which is where it will be based, to your will. There's a lot of interesting sort of sinisterness. If I said the word sinister enough. And that'll be coming in August. They've also announced that next month, Fallout Shelter will be getting major updates, and will also be coming to the PC platform. It won't just be on mobile. They then talked about Skyrim. I should say New Elder Scrolls, because that would have been a big swerve. Yeah, Skyrim is getting a remaster. They're calling it, I think, Skyrim Special Edition. Which will include all the mods as well, mod support, that sort of stuff. Coming out, I think, in a few months. I can't remember whether they gave a date. But they did reveal sort of afterwards, in interviews and whatever, that PC players who have the entire, definitive edition of Skyrim will be able to upgrade or get the special, remastered edition for free. No news on the console stuff. I mean, I'm guessing no, because obviously it's not. If you've got a PS3 version, you get a PS4 version free, an Xbox 360, Xbox One, respectively. That's a bit tougher because it's different platforms and whatever. But certainly PC players will be happy with that. Then we had Arcane Studios talking about a game, and the way they were talking about it was sci-fi, and I was like, hang on, this is the studio that's doing Dishonored 2. What's sci-fi about Dishonored? And then they have this futuristic sci-fi thing, which looks very Groundhog Day-esque, because the guy's playing the same day sort of over and over, and it's looking very odd. And then, the trailer looks great, and by the end we find out this is Prey. Not Prey 2. Apparently we're rebooting Prey after one game and giving it the same name. So I bet, okay, it's not coming out till 2017, and they'll apparently be providing more details at QuakeCon. And the fact that this is the new game from Chris Avellone, who did, Pillars of Eternity and a whole load of classic other games. But I guess that means, unless I've already got it, which I'm not sure about, I might do, but I'm not. I'll have to check in the listings on the computer. I might have to get the original one quick, because then people will get confused. Like, do you mean Prey? What do you mean Prey? There's a difference. They then talk about Doom DLC, which is adding multiplayer modes and new snap map stuff, which is all going to be free. Then there's going to be premium DLC. The first one could be called Unto the Evil, I think it's called, which is multiplayer content again. So yeah, as it currently stands, the game in which everybody loves the single player and doesn't really give a damn about multiplayer is getting possibly only multiplayer DLC. You might want to work on that, Bethesda. Just saying. They've also announced that the first level of the game is available free as a demo this week only on PC, PS4 and Xbox One. Then talk about Elder Scrolls Online with a crazy screaming woman. It's like she was excited for this game, and everyone else in the audience is like, nobody gave a crap about this game until they made it free to play with Tamriel Unlimited last year, and even then, it didn't really get that much of a following. And even then, to that point, it isn't even free to play. It is still sort of a pay to play sort of aspect, even though it is free to play. Now, it is sort of a, if you pay money, you will get better advantages. So it's not a level playing field. One of their big bits of news was it's coming out next week in Japan, and everyone was like, that's news. And then the one screaming woman was like, "Woo, Japan!" And then DLC is apparently out Tuesday with a new expansion, and then they're going to be doing another expansion later in the year called, I think in the fall, called One Tamriel, which will be basically characters will be able to auto level to basically the person with the highest level in the party. So as soon as you get through the tutorial, there is no sort of quest restrictions. You know, as if you're with like a level 100 player and you're a level 1, you will then scale up. I don't even know if it goes up to level 100, but you'll scale up to 100 to take on the quest sort of thing. You'll never sort of be, punished for whatever you do, or you won't be sort of out of your league sort of thing, which is good to see. Then they talk about Bethesda VR, and that Doom and Fallout will be getting some sort of showcase mode, and they're going to be totally reworking Fallout 4 to run on HTC Vive with a release date of somewhere in 2017. So Fallout will be completely VR. I don't know how that'll work, but whatever. And then finally they finished off with a sort of quite an in-depth look at Dishonored 2. The gameplay looks very good, just as good as the first one, but obviously better graphics, and some of the powers that Emily and Corvo have are really nice. There's like one where it's like a smoke thing that basically murders people. There's something that makes people hallucinate so you can go past them. There's like a domino effect thing where something that happens to one person then happens to the others. Corvo's one that we saw was like a time travel gun. So you can look in like the bedraggled areas of like today, let's say, but then look through the gun and see what it was like, 20 years before, and then be able to pass through them sort of willy-nilly. And it did look very good, and the cover of Gold Dust Woman, I don't know I don't know who did it, but man, that's good choice of music. There will be a collector's edition as well if you pre-order, which is annoying. But you do get Corvo's mask. So you can actually, you know, imagine that you're an actual assassin. Better than, you know, the Assassin's Creed. But there was a thing to note right at the end afterwards. People scoured that thing, and it was listing off like games that had released. So Doom came out May 2015. Doom 3 came out in 2004. The original Wolfenstein was in 90s. Dishonored was like 2012. And then there was one that said New Colossus cross dash cross dash cross, as in there isn't a release date for it. And a lot of people are saying New Colossus sounds very much like a sort of subtitle for a Wolfenstein game. So have they revealed that now to be then showcased somewhere down the line or even next year? Probably. But overall, much better from them. I wouldn't say it's as good as last year, but better than EA. And again, a lot of things were better than EA. Microsoft started off with the Xbox One S. It's going to be 40% smaller than the original Xbox One. It's going to have an integrated power supply and up to a 2 GB hard drive. Prices for the 500 gig start at $299 in August, going up to $399 for the 2 TB edition. They then talk about Xbox Play Anywhere, which is basically if you own the game on Windows 10 or Xbox One, you get it for free on the other platform. So it's sort of cross-play sort of thing. And all co-op modes, because this is first brought up in reference to Gears 4. Gears of War 4, whatever you want to call it. All the co-op modes will apparently include cross-play, so people on PC will be able to play with Xbox One people. My only worry is this going to be through the Windows 10 store? Because if so, nobody's going to play it on PC. Because the Windows 10 store is utterly flawed right now. You know, graphically it looks good, but then the brown comes in, and then the fact that it looks like Gears of War 1, 2, and 3, and Judgment, and all the other Gears of War games, makes me go, yeah, this doesn't look really that appealing. And then they announce October 11th release date, and then show Marcus Phoenix, because, you know, he ain't dead. They then showcase off a special Gears Elite controller. Something. Killer Instinct, Season 3, will be getting a new character in the form of General Ram, who is free to get, I think, this week. Oh no, I think that's Season 2, and then Season 3, when it starts in the fall, that will be Play Anywhere as well. So again, One and Windows 10. Then Forza Horizon 3, set in this time in Australia, really looks fantastic. You know, it's the simulation game, but obviously not doing the standard simulation stuff like Gran Turismo will or whatever. That'll be coming out September 27th, but that looked really nice. Hope to be playing that at the conventions. That might be one time where I go, yeah. Because the Forza ones are good because we're on a track, but when you sort of, there's a lot of free roam elements that you can go anywhere rather than you got to do this race sort of thing like it is in Forza Motorsport. The Horizon series always I preferred, so it'll be good to see that. Then they talked about Recore, the new game from Inafune, if you remember that they teased last year. Really looks nice. That's coming out September 19th. Then there was a fight with a giant titan from Final Fantasy 15, where the guy was absolutely failing at it and nearly dying. That's coming September 30th. probably not the best way to show it with somebody that didn't really know how to play it, which is a bit awkward. They then talked about Division DLC, and everyone went, who cares about the Division anymore? On PC, at least on Steam figures, which isn't everybody, because some people will be stupidly playing it through Uplay and everything. On Steam, since its release, 93% of people that bought it, which was quite a few, 100,000, even not million, 93% of the people are not playing it anymore. I don't think it's that popular, lads. Then they talk more Battlefield 1 stuff by showing the same trailer that they showed the night before, so nobody gave a damn. They then talked about Xbox Live getting the ability to add background music for you to play while you're playing, be able to choose your language of choice no matter where you are in the world. So, you know, if you want to play it in Spanish in the UK, you can. You know, it isn't sort of, you live in this country, you must speak English sort of thing. It's a freedom of choice there, which is good. And also Cortana will be coming to Xbox One. I'm not sure if that's good. Free features, though, will be coming in the fall. Xbox Clubs, where you'll be able to create groups for just, you know, yourself or whatever, or within games. Then Looking for Group, which is basically sort of the equivalent of sending out a distress call saying, you know, need a team of 3, anybody willing to help me out, and that'll do it. And then also esports, because there's going to be a FIFA Arena or something. Oh no, I think they called it Xbox Arena for Xbox or something, which is basically just the emphasis on esports, and that the FIFA stuff will now be done through Arena for Xbox. Which I don't know whether that means now that the Gfinity Play Like a Legend tournaments are done for, because it sort of sounds like it. They then talk about Minecraft, and that from today, mobile and PC people will be able to play and share together. There's also a friendly update, and Minecraft Realms, where basically you can get invited into somebody else's game. And then John Carmack of Doom and id Software fame shows up with an Oculus headset on his head, going, "Oh, can I do something?" And everyone's like, "Why the shit are you here, sir? Why are you here? Somebody let you out the mental institution." So that's all out now. Then talking about texture packs coming to mobile and Windows 10, along with add-ons coming in the fall. Realms is free, apparently, but I think you still have to pay for the Minecraft app, possibly, unless, you know, you don't, in which case I spent £5 too much about 4 months ago. More news will come at Minecon in September, which is, I don't know where, because I don't know. I don't think it's in London. That's why I actually noticed it like last year or whenever it happened, 2 years ago, whatever. They then talked about customizable controllers, which will cost $80. Basically, you can have your name on it. You can change the colours of like the D-pad and the back and the triggers and whatever. Just that sort of stuff. Then they showed like a very brief teaser for Inside, the new game from Limbo, the devs. The thing is, they showed very little of it, despite the fact it's coming out June 29th. So yeah, 2 weeks that's coming out. And I guess they're leaving it vague on purpose. And then to mark that release, everybody, whether you've got gold or not, can get Limbo for on Xbox One for free. Then ID Xbox had like a showcase of stuff that's going to be coming. Basically indie titles. So you've got your multi-platform stuff like Yooka-Laylee and Slime Rancher, and Culling and Outlast 2 and Hands of Fate 2 and Bloodstained, you know, the Castlevania spiritual successor and whatever. And then, of course, Cuphead as well. Then talked about Ark, and that people that own it on Xbox One will get a free version for Windows 10. Again, if it's via the store, nobody will give a damn. Then, available on Xbox Game Preview next month, July 26th, is We Happy Few. And this is sort of Bioshock meets Dishonored, meets 1984, meets Train Spotting, meets... I mean, it was... The art style was great. The whole sort of crazy psychological thing was great. That's like one that I really want to play, and if it's only on Xbox, I'll just have to play it at the show floors and the conventions. Because if it's preview and it's not officially out, they can probably get away with showing it there. Yay! I'm going to play that. I have to get in the queue and then go back in and play it again. I will. Then we have CD Projekt Red coming out, talking about the Gwent standalone game. It is multi-platform, it's just they did it on the stage for Xbox. It's going to have cross-play features with Windows 10 for Xbox One players anyway. There will be multiplayer as well as single-player stuff. Admittedly, the UI looks different. The beta will be first on Xbox One and PC, and it'll be coming out sometime in September. Then we had Tekken 7, which looked not bad, nothing exceptional. And then for Xbox Gold subscribers, they had Tekken Tournament 2 be available for free via the backwards compatibility stuff, which is nice. Then it starts snowing inside the building, and then we see zombies, and then we see Frank West, and we're going, well, there we go, Dead Rising 4, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly looks... I mean, there was light-hearted stuff to Dead Rising 3, but they didn't really show it in the trailers. With 4, they've gone back to the, here's crazy shit. You know, kill them zombies. So that's coming sometime in the holiday, so they haven't said when. I'd have thought it'd have to be sometime before Thanksgiving, because that might be one that would shift consoles. Microsoft Studios will be showcasing Recall. I mean, they're basically saying how the Microsoft Studios games will be play anywhere, so they'll have a Xbox One and Windows 10 version for everybody that buys either. So Recall, Killer Instinct, Gears of War 4, Forza, they'll all be it, along with Scalebound, which they show, which will be coming in 2017. Platinum are working on it now, officially confirmed. So they show off a co-op demo with what's quoted as the biggest boss ever, which, you know, looked, the scale of it was like, wow, that's a big boss. But the graphics were like, my God, this looks like an Xbox 360 game. This doesn't look next gen at all. It's, you know, a bit, not so sure. Then Sea of Thieves, an okay-ish trailer, and then you had sort of gameplay, but it was done in sort of Let's Player terms, which was natural, but at the same time, when some of the stuff they were doing, it somehow seemed staged. It was, you know, it was like, you've stranded me, don't leave me behind, and, you know, although it was natural from what I've been told, it just looked staged, just because of the way they presented it. They just showed glimpses of highlights from each player's perspective, not actually sort of just a gameplay demo of like 5-10 minutes or whatever. We had a teaser for State of Decay 2, which looks very promising. Then we had sort of fancy Halo Wars CG trailer. The beta is available now this week. 343 has developed this in partnership with Crystal Dynamics. So yeah, there's the Tomb Raider thing. Also, I did note there was no reference to Tomb Raider at all at either Sony's conference or Microsoft, so I guess that didn't do well. I think they were saying that Tomb Raider on PC, 98% of copies were sold on Steam, which means about 45... I think they said it was about 45,000 copies were only sold on the Xbox or the Windows 10 store. So there's how good that is. Yeah, and that'll be coming February 21st, 2017. Then they talk about how the next step is obviously virtual reality in 4K. And then, after they talked about the Xbox One S, they totally told us that you don't need to give a damn about that by announcing about Project Scorpio, which will be coming somewhere in holiday 2017. Apparently it's going to be the most powerful console ever. The way they were describing it is that it's going to be able to do, supposedly, 60 frames a second and 4K visuals. So it's sort of, I don't know whether it's a PC console hybrid sort of thing, but they did stress that it's compatible with all Xbox One and Xbox One S content. So in that essence, it basically is what the Xbox One Elite might be called or whatever, I guess. It's like the souped up version of the Xbox One and the Xbox One S. In which case, why get the console if you know that you can save your money and get a super one, hopefully in your price range, within the next 18 months. It's a little bit dodgy, but overall, very good conference from Microsoft. And that's where I'm going to leave it, because I know that I'm going on a little bit long, from what I can tell. So, even though I didn't think I'd do this, I'm splitting this up. So, coming along within the next day or two, whenever I can get the video sent over to Owen, we're going to talk part 2. We're going to be talking the PC gaming show, we're going to talk Ubisoft, and we're going to talk Sony. And also, probably the stuff that wasn't there. Actually, no, because it relates to what we've had here. The one thing that was missing from Xbox is, and although they did show a tease, like right at the end, no details on Crackdown, which is probably because they then announced it's being delayed to 2017. The 2016 release date, no. But in terms of, you know, exclusives for the thing, if we have a look, Forza, which looks alright, Gears, which doesn't, Recall, which is sort of a, well, it's going to have a budget, price point. It's not going to be full price. It's going to be sort of the price point that Ratchet & Clank on PS4 was, so it's not indie sort of price, but it's not AAA price, somewhere in the middle. The indie games that are apparently going to be first there, like Inside and We Happy Few, they look really good. Coming out this year. Dead Rising 4 coming in the holiday. You know, that makes sense. But nothing else is coming out in 2016. So they've only got, in terms of AAA stuff, 3 big exclusives. Which I guess is not too many, but then as well, not everybody's going to be impressed with Gears. Not everybody's going to like driving games like Forza. And obviously you've got the age, well, certainly with the both Gears and Dead Rising, you got the age restriction. Kids ain't going to be allowed to play it unless the parents are letting them allow it, and you know, whatever. But yeah, I think I will cut this here, and we'll talk part 2 of the E3 conferences in the next video. I don't know why I pointed that way, because it's probably going to be that way.